Hi, Jay Linesider here. Welcome to my channel, The Adventures of Jay Linesider. Whenever I go out on an adventure, I always like to be prepared. And part of being prepared is having a few rods already rigged and ready to go. Because you never know when you get to that first spot, maybe even when you get to the ramp or the dock or wherever you're fishing off of, you're going to see something and you're going to want to cast. And you don't want to have some half-assed knot on there. You don't want to have something that doesn't have an adequate leader. You don't want to have a frayed leader. You want to be prepared, and you want to have one of your top choice lures for what you think is going to be there already tied on. So today I'm going to show you some of my favorite knots that I've been using for years and years, and for the most part these knots are 100% strength, and they will not break unless you tie them wrong. And that's another point. If it looks like it's wrong, don't just be lazy and just keep that knot, cut that knot off and start all over again, because you never know when you're going to get a fish of a lifetime on, and the fish of a lifetime surely is going to exhibit all his skills and test his skills against your skills. And if your knot's bad or if your leader's frayed, you're going to lose that fight. So I'm going to turn my attention to the bench now, and we're going to record some knots. The first knot I think you ought to know, and every fisherman ought to know, is the Vic Dunaway knot, the Uni-Knot. And that's going to be number one for everybody to have in their fishing arsenal. If you don't know anything else, learn the Uni-Knot. All right, Jay here again. Now the first knot I'm going to show you here is going to be the Uni-Knot. And I'm going to tie it on this rather large hook. Now, this is 80-pound test I have here, 80-pound mono. Do yourself a favor, buy yourself a giant spool of mono. This is a 1 pound spool of 80, and I use 80 all the time, especially at night for night fishing, night snooker. And then this is my 30-pound spool. This is 800 yards of Andy 30 pink. I don't know if the pink's any better, but yellowtailers seem to like it. And yellowtail are pretty observant when it comes to lines. So are mutton snappers. So we just go with the pink. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. All right, so we're going to run the line through one time, and then we're going to make a circle. This 80 sure wants to jump all around. We're going to make a circle like this. I'm holding everything. This is my left hand. I'm left-handed. Holding everything in this left hand. I'm pinching this right now. This is the main line right here, going to the rod. And this is the tag end. I'm going to take this tag end and I'm going to go around 5 times through this hole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I left myself a little. Now, off camera, I'm going to hold this tag end in my teeth and I'm going to pull it tight. And I'm going to wet it down at the same time. Alright, so we got this now, and it needs to be cinched down towards the hook. So I'm going to pull on the line end here, sliding, 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 sliding. I'm going to pull a little bit more with my teeth on this tag end, pulling tight, 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 tight. And that's all there is to it. I'm working it down. Okay, so now when you're done, you want to see something that looks like this. I like to call it a little mini tornado, because these little spirals are kind of like a tornado, and then you got the line, the tag end jumping off like that. Now what you want to do is you want to pull this really, really hard, especially when you're dealing with 80. 80 will slip and you got to put a lot of pressure to get those coils down. So you want to put that down around something, maybe like a cleat, something. We'll do it on this chair down here. Now that's pretty tight there, and that's ready to go. Now you're ready to take your scissors. I like these titanium Cuda scissors, and you can cut that pretty close. You probably cut that closer than that, but that's good enough for now. And so what we got is we got a hook, and then we got a Uni-Knot cinched down tight all the way down. That's a pretty good setup for a live bait 80-pound test leader. And you can do it with the 30. It'll be much easier to manipulate the line. So let me do that. Grab the 30, pull some 30 off. 30 is much easier to work with, but 80 is much easier to see on the camera. Alright, so we're going to run it through. We're going to do our loop. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to pull it down like that. Give it a little juice. Wet it. And cinch it down. So that was much easier, especially sitting down doing the 30. Now you want to clip that end off right there. And that's your 30. Now if you got a hook this big, it means you got a big bait, so you're probably not going to want to use 30. But if you're using a little jig or something, using a slam shady, using a little mirror lure, top water, you're going to want to use 30, and that's a good amount for that. You're fishing bridges, you're fishing piers, pilings, inlets, you're going to want to have the 80, maybe more than 80. All right, now there's another thing you can do. If you're ever bottom fishing, you can, instead of doing the loop, you can snell the hook. For some reason, I got to do this the other way. But you run the line through the hook like this. Here's your line towards your rod over here, your leader towards your rod, and then of course here's your hook. Now you got the loop, but this time you don't have the line here. You're going to use the shank of the hook as your third piece of line, and this is how you're going to snell the hook. You're going to do the same procedure without that third line. You're going to go around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. On the snelling, you don't really have to go the whole full 5, especially if you're using a heavier line. So let me hold this tag in with my teeth and pull it tight. So now that's the snelling of the hook. And the idea is you get a good pull, you get a straight pull on a snelled hook. The line is going to pull and the hook is going to pull straight this way when you set the hook. And I like it a lot better. This knot will not break. This knot will not go through this hole. And then you can cut it like about that, and there's no fish in the world that's gonna Notice that little nub right there, and they're not gonna be able to break that knot. Now they may fray through. This is only 30 again. They may fray through your line, but the knot's not going to break. Something else is going to break before that knot breaks. All right, we're going to move on to the next knot here. All right, now that we've mastered the Uni-Knot, we're going to go to what I've used for years, which is a line to leader connection, and it's again a Uni-Knot. It's a uni to uni. This is going to be my braid. This is 30-pound braid, and this is 30-pound Andy mono again. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie one Uni-Knot over here and one Uni-Knot over there, and we're going to cinch them together, and they're going to butt up against each other, and then they won't move. And that's another very close to 100% knot. Let's start off here with the braid. The braid, I always like to do more wraps than maybe necessary. I don't know. I like to do about 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, and then we're going to pull that tight. And you can see, again, it looks like a little spiral, little funnel, tornado. And that's half the knot. It's halfway done. So now I'm going to kind of undo this so that my monofilament on my leader is straight. You got the loop from the monofilament here, and you got the braid here going back towards the rod. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I'm only going to do 5 on the mono side. Now I'm going to cinch this down with my teeth. All right. Now you can see that is there, and that other knot is over there, and then they're going to slide towards each other, hopefully, and lock. Getting closer and closer and closer. Boom. All right. Now it's a matter of tightening these up to get them to stop and make sure they don't slip later during the fight with a big fish. Now, the thing with the uni to uni, this will not go through your guides very readily. You could do it, but it's going to make noise. Could chip your guides. Could mess up your tip. Could do a lot of bad things if you, especially if you're using like 80 and you throw in something like this through your guides with the 80. 30, it's not so bad, and especially if you trim it nicely, especially the mono. The mono is going to make noise if you're throwing it through the guide. So with this uni to uni, you're not going to want a long leader. You're only going to want about 2 feet to your lure. And then when you have that 2 feet, you can more easily manage casting a lure or a bait or whatever it is. But with the FG knot, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, the FG knot is one where you're going to have a lot longer leader, and you're going to be able to cut it and retie it, cut it, retie it, cut it, and retie it. and it will cast through the guides. But a lot of people don't like the FG knot, and there's good reason to. And I, for years, used the uni to uni. It still works. Never's failed me. All right, I'm going to show you a loop knot that I kind of came up with on my own. Nobody really told me how to do this. I kind of invented it myself. It's a loop knot using the uni to uni. What you do is you start off and you make a knot like that. It's just an overhand knot in the line, and then you thread through. Sorry, getting old here. And what I'm going to do is use that knot as like a stop, so the uni knot doesn't cinch all the way down. Let's take some practice. So here's my line going towards my rod. Here's my loop here. I go through here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, didn't close. All right, now you cinch that down like that. So you got a uni knot, and it's being held in place by the overhand knot. And this is good for, gives you a good loop. Maybe bigger than most people like, but I like it. It like allow your lure to wiggle around like that. Will not break. And I've done this with shrimp tail jigs a lot. Anything you want to have a little movement like this. If you're going to be jumping this thing off the bottom, you get that extra movement. Now, if you got a swim bait, you can just cinch that straight down, or you can do this loop as well. But that is the uni knot, and the beauty of the uni knot is it's the only knot you really need to know. You got your hook connection, you got your loop knot connection, you got your line, your braided line to your leader connection, and then of course you could snell the hook too. So you can do basically everything that you'll ever want or need to do. And of course that was invented by Vic Dunaway of Florida Sportsman way back when. I don't know. Forgot. It's got to be 50 years now. Anyway, it's a great invention. It's a great knot. It's not the only knot, but it's the only one you really need to know. And you can fish all day and all night and not worry about whether your knot's going to slip or whether it's going to break or what's going on. All right, I'm going to move on to my next knot here in a second. All right, now I'm going to do a variation on that loop knot that I just showed you, the uni loop. And for this, you make a circle, but you don't close it up like you did with the uni. I haven't been using this knot too long, so it may come out too long. The loop may be too long, but you make that loop right there. And then you run your tag in through there. This is probably where I go wrong. Kind of get it cinched down a little bit, but not all the way. And then you want to wrap it around the main line at least 3 times. I go 4 times. Some people say you only need 2 times. That kind of scares me. Then you go back with the tag in through that loop. Then you cinch it down. Pulling out my teeth a little. Okay, so now this has got that same dangling action. Maybe again, bigger than most people like, but I like a lot of action. I either go for a lot of action or no action at all. I'll tie it straight on there. Not too often I'll tie a jig straight on, but I will on a flare hawk all day, every day. I don't give much action to my flare hawks, so I tie them straight on. And I use the Uni-Knot. So there's the loop knot. And that'll catch you some snook, especially if you pop it off the bottom. You want to do this. Pop, pop, pop. That's how you're going to get a bite. Let it go down to the bottom, and then when you pop it off, a snook's going to think that it's a shrimp or something trying to get away. Before it hits the bottom again, that's when they're going to try to intercept it. And that's when they're going to nail it. So pop, pop, pop. That's what you want to do with a jig to catch you some snook.